Woman refuses to remove her bag and receives a cold serving of karma in return. "If you remove her, we'll have one more seat," a passenger cried in the background.
"Put your hands on my stuff. There's more seats available."
No, there isn't.
Standing room only. No, there's not.
Things were about to go from bad to worse. The officer's patience was running out, and fast. When you drive a car, the only people that you should be worrying about are other drivers around you. However, public transport is an entirely different story. Enormous crowds of people catch the trains to get to and from work, and on these trains, there are unspoken but logical rules that everyone tries following to keep things comfortable. But not everyone's so eager to do what's best for others, as we'll see with this woman. The other train passengers were about to teach her a thing or two about train etiquette. Jessica Hewitt lived in New York. She was used to the eternal hustle and bustle of the busy streets, and on that day, like most others, she was returning from work. It was rush hour, and every public transport route was packed full of tired citizens rushing to get back to their homes as soon as possible. Living where she did, Jessica thought she'd seen everything on these trains. However, she was about to be proven completely wrong. Peak rush hour brings with it a lot of discomfort for those who commute by train, since finding a seat is near impossible. So, common courtesy and sense dictate that one person occupies one seat, leaving the other seats for other people. But today, Jessica was about to witness something that would blow her away. She was exhausted and already anticipated the train's usual throng of passengers before she boarded. Her last hope for the day was to find a seat. She had an hour-and-a-half-long journey ahead of her. She made her way through the train until she finally saw one open seat in the last carriage. The seat was right next to a young woman. For a second, Jessica hesitated as there were plenty of people standing nearby and no one had occupied the seat. Except for a bag resting on it, the seat looked fine and free, so Jessica came up to the young lady and politely asked if the seat was free. What happened next left her completely speechless. Anytime you find yourself stuck in a crowded place, you're bound to notice a few instances of people being or acting antisocial. It may sound a little ridiculous at first, but public transport always reveals the worst in people. Some play their music too loud, some people eat too loud or too messy, some people have shouting matches over the phone, but what this young woman did is so much worse. "May I sit here?" Jessica politely asked the woman, gesturing towards the empty seat. But the woman clearly thought she was above common decency and the rules of the train, taking up two seats with her large Louis Vuitton bag. She completely ignored Jessica, simply staring at her phone with earphones in and pretending not to see her. Right then, the train stopped, and officers entered the passenger car. Jessica felt the tension as she noticed all the annoyed looks shot at the young woman. Jessica had clearly not been the first to ask for the seat and get ignored. The security was obviously heading for the woman, so someone must have already reported her. But what did she do? The first officer approached the woman with her bag and told her to stow it in the overhead compartment. "No!"
"Put your hands on my stuff."
she screamed, swatting his hand away. When he reached his hand out to move the bag for her, the woman once again cried out, "Don't put your hands on my stuff!" She now finally took out her earphones and angrily glared at the officer before her. The officer calmly asked,
"What? No, I don't want you. There's more seats available."
No, there isn't.
Standing room only. No, there's not.
And at this point, the crowd had had enough. A man in the background shouted,
"It's already a late train. Like, come on, you're delaying everybody."
But all he received in reply was a furious look. Then she kept arguing with the officer, refusing to make way. It was too much to bear, and other passengers started answering in an uproar,
Why?
There's no seats. Yeah, there's not a lot of seats. People are standing.
Jessica saw that security was getting more serious. "Ma'am, take that bag off the seat or I'm taking you off the train right now," he said. The impatience, tension, and anger in the train were palpable and growing uncontrollably. Another voice rang out from the back.
If you remove her, we'll have one more.
But this only made the situation worse. Just then, the woman shot up and turned to the closest passenger screaming,
You say you're not disabled, you're not pregnant. I don't want your bed bugs, I don't want your smell, you're disgusting. I don't want you sitting next to me.
Jessica couldn't believe her ears. The woman had some sort of superiority complex for sure, feeling entitled on public transport.
This is my personal space.
No, it's not.
I don't
The officer's patience was disappearing fast.
care if I'm 90 pounds, 50 pounds, or 300 pounds. This is my personal thing.
And now Jessica could clearly see and understand why everyone was looking at her with such scorn. The officer, on the other hand, had had enough. It was the final straw. And went to escort her off. The woman looked completely shocked, baffled that someone had actually told her what to do.
Personal space, you'll have it outside.
Followed by a round of applause from the train's passengers. Even though the woman was shocked and had no idea what was happening, she was determined not to back down and doubled down. She didn't seem to care one bit that she had already delayed the train by a total of 25 minutes. The officer no longer cared, however, and started heading straight for her. At that moment, the woman rolled her eyes and finally got up from her seat, taking her bag along with her. She left the train escorted by the officers with an attitude Jessica had never seen. How could someone be so ridiculously self-absorbed and arrogant to refuse to free up a seat, forcing people to stand? One of the passengers caught the whole event on video and posted it online. Many viewers were clearly disappointed with the young woman, with one user writing, "Perfect example of someone who feels entitled, just plain selfish." Another said, "When a whole bunch of strangers ask you to leave, you should know something's wrong." I'm glad someone recorded it. Her bad behavior will haunt her for a long time because of this video. It's not hard to be kind, a YouTube user wrote. "Girl, buy yourself a car or a helicopter or you can decide who gets in or not, lol," another user chimed in. And one user had a very good observation and note. "You're not disabled? Plenty of people have non-visible disabilities. What a vile woman." An NJ Transit spokesperson commented on the situation after the video blew up on social media. "We encourage customers to make every seat available by placing bags on their laps or on overhead luggage racks and complying with the direction of train crews." In response, the woman who captured that moment said that the passengers weren't upset at NJ Transit, but rather at the woman who had delayed everybody's trip. When the selfish woman finally left the train, it started moving again. Right then, another passenger gestured for Jessica to take the seat. After having witnessed such an upsetting scene just now, Jessica couldn't help but feel moved by the small, simple, yet kind act. That passenger brought back her faith in humanity right then and there. Luckily, Jessica has not bumped into anyone as selfish as that woman since, and still hopes to find an empty seat wherever she takes a ride back home. It's the price you pay for living in a city like New York. There are both good and bad displays of behavior all around us. That's what makes us human, right? Seeing something bad and making it right.